Nothing will work unless you do. Don't let the man bring you down. Few, if any, survive their teens. All great achievements require time. I don't trust anyone who doesn't laugh. Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. I want you to write down your blessings. We need much less than we think we need. I sustain myself with the love of family. Wouldn't take nothing from my journey now. She will always be the rainbow in my clouds. To those who are given much, much is expected. Segregation shaped me, education liberated me. No, nobody but nobody can make it out her alone. A friend may be waiting behind a stranger's face. Ask for what you want and be prepared to get it. Nothing can dim the light which shines from within. Be present in all things and thankful for all things. I am a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. I'm not a writer who teaches. I'm a teacher who writes. This bed yawns beneath the weight of our absent selves. This a wonderful day. I've never seen this one before. We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. I am overwhelmed by the grace and persistence of my people. Love is like a virus. It can happen to anybody at any time. This is a wonderful day. I have never seen this one before. Everything in the universe has a rhythm, everything dances. As soon as healing takes place, go out and heal somebody else. Go, she whispered. Go. Show them you spell your name woman. Lovers think quite different thoughts while lying side by side. The more you know of your history, the more liberated you are. The truth is, no one of us can be free until everybody is free. If Funky Town was a trailer park, this guy would be a double wide. The need for change bulldozed a road down the center of my mind. If you have only one smile and you give it to the people you love. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. Writing and cookery are just two different means of communication. In so many ways, segregation shaped me, and education liberated me. The most called upon prerequisite of a friend is an accessible ear. When we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. I'm young as morning and fresh as dew. Everybody loves me and so do you. There is a very fine line between loving life and being greedy for it. Success is liking yourself, liking what you do and liking how you do it. I long, as does every human being, to be at home wherever I find myself. You can only become great at that thing you're willing to sacrifice for. Have enough courage to trust love one more time and always one more time. I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. Your crown has been bought and paid for. Put it on your head and wear it. I think we all have empathy. We may not have enough courage to display it. The best comfort food will always be greens, cornbread, and fried chicken. If we lose love and self-respect for each other, this is how we finally die. The loss of young first love is so painful that it borders on the ludicrous. I've learned that making a living is not the same thing as making a life. When I walk in, they may like me or dislike me, but everybody knows I'm here. Making a decision to write was a lot like deciding to jump into a frozen lake. Hate, it has caused a lot of problems in the world, but has not solved one yet. I want all my senses engaged. Let me absorb the world's variety and uniqueness. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. If more Africans had eaten missionaries, the continent would be in better shape. If one is lucky, a solitary fantasy can totally transform 1 million realities. If you find it in your heart to care for somebody else, you will have succeeded. Trust your brain to suggest a solution, then have the courage to follow through. And my 7-year-old world Humpty Dumptied, never to be put back together again. Poetry puts starch in your backbone so you can stand, so you can compose your life. The desire to reach for the stars is ambitious. The desire to reach hearts is wise. There's a world of difference between truth and facts. Facts can obscure the truth. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, to forgive. Forgive everybody. I had given up some youth for knowledge, but my gain was more valuable than the loss. I'm just someone who likes cooking and for whom sharing food is a form of expression. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Nothing succeeds like success. Get a little success, and then just get a little more. Elimination of illiteracy is as serious an issue to our history as the abolition of slavery. Take a day to heal from the lies you've told yourself and the ones that have been told to you. Each person deserves a day away in which no problems are confronted, no solutions searched for. All my ways of being are musical and mysterious. Yet I embrace you openly. Ripe with expectancy. Bitterness is like cancer. It eats upon the host. But anger is like fire. It burns it all clean. Loving someone liberates the lover as well as the beloved. And that kind of love comes with age. When things were very bad, his soul just crawled behind his heart and curled up and went to sleep. I'm interested in women's health because I'm a woman. I'd be a darn fool not to be on my own side. I believe that the most important single thing, beyond discipline and creativity, is daring to dare. Music was my refuge. I could crawl into the space between the notes and curl my back to loneliness. No matter what happens, or how bad it seems today, life does go on, and it will be better tomorrow. When you wish someone joy, you wish them peace, love, prosperity, happiness. All the good things. Life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. The ache for home lives in all of us. The safe place where we can go as we are and not be questioned. I respect myself and insist upon it from everybody. And because I do it, I then respect everybody, too. I learned to love my son without wanting to possess him, and I learned how to teach him to teach himself. Prejudice is a burden that confuses the past, threatens the future, and renders the present inaccessible. I answer the heroic question, death, where is thy sting? With, it is in my heart and mind and memories. On this platform of peace, we can create a language to translate ourselves to ourselves and to each other. Sugar cane reach up to God, and every baby crying shame the blanket of my night, and all my days are dying. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. There is nothing so pitiful as a young cynic because he has gone from knowing nothing to believing nothing. In all the world, there is no heart for me like yours. In all the world, there is no love for you like mine. It is time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength. The poetry you read has been written for you, each of you, black, white, Hispanic, man, woman, gay, straight. Whining is not only graceless, but can be dangerous. It can alert a brute that a victim is in the neighborhood. I love the song, I Hope You Dance, by Lee and Womack. I was going to write that song, but someone beat me to it. Whatever you want to do, if you want to be great at it, you have to love it and be able to make sacrifices for it. I want to thank you, Lord, for life and all that's in it. Thank you for the day and for the hour, and the minute. The devil lives in our mistakes, the Lord lives in our rights. Who lives in our ignorance, and who wins after all? We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. I wrote some of the worst poetry west from the Mississippi River, but I wrote. And I finally sometimes got it right. I love to see a young girl go out and grab the world by the lapels. Life's a bitch. You've got to go out and kick ass. Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with shades of deeper meaning. Each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women. I learned a long time ago the wisest thing I can do is be on my own side, be an advocate for myself and others like me. I've learned that regardless of your relationship with your parents, you'll miss them when they're gone from your life. Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. Life is going to give you just what you put in it. Put your whole heart in everything you do, and pray, then you can wait. While the rest of the world has been improving technology, Ghana has been improving the quality of man's humanity to a man. Courage is the most important of all the virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. It's the fire in my eyes, and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist, and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman phenomenally. To describe my mother would be to write about a hurricane in its perfect power. Or the climbing, falling colors of a rainbow. All great artists draw from the same resource, the human heart, which tells us that we are all more alike than we are unalike. Any book that helps a child to form a habit of reading, to make reading one of his deep and continuing needs, is good for him. I work very hard, and I play very hard. I'm grateful for life. And I live it. I believe life loves the liver of it. I live it. Language is man's way of communicating with his fellow man, and it is language alone which separates him from the lower animals. I've learned that you shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. The love of the family, the love of one person can heal. It heals the scars left by a larger society. A massive, powerful society. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lines. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Take the blinders from your vision, take the padding from your ears, and confess you've heard me crying and admit you've seen my tears. At 15, life had taught me undeniably that surrender, in its place, was as honorable as resistance, especially if one had no choice. The B word and the N word are like poison. Whether you take poison from a vial or pour it into Bavarian crystal, it is still poison. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. They may have forgotten how badly they treated you, or they may pretend that they have forgotten. But watch, they will come back to you. I speak to the Black experience, but I am always talking about the human condition, about what we can endure, dream, fail at, and survive. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It is this belief in a power larger than myself and other than myself which allows me to venture into the unknown and even the unknowable. Continue to be bold, courageous. Try to choose the wisest thing, and once you've chosen the wisest thing, go out and try to achieve it. Be it. My life has been one great big joke, a dance that's walked, a song that spoke. I laugh so hard I almost choke, when I think about myself. I found it hard to think of leaving my books. They had been my elevators out of the midden, and to whom could I entrust such close friends? In an unfamiliar culture, it is wise to offer no innovations, no suggestions, or lessons. The epitome of sophistication is utter simplicity. My great hope is to laugh as much as I cry, to get my work done and try to love somebody and have the courage to accept the love in return. One can never leave home. One carries the shadows, the dreams, the dragons of home under one's skin, at the extreme corners of one's eyes. Stepping onto a brand new path is difficult, but not more difficult than remaining in a situation which is not nurturing to the whole woman. My life has been long, and believing that life loves the liver of it, I have dared to try many things, sometimes trembling, but daring, still. Courage, you develop courage by doing small things, like just as if you wouldn't want to pick up a 100-pound weight without preparing yourself. What you're supposed to do when you don't like a thing is change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. Don't complain. I've read everything Thomas Wolfe ever wrote. My brother and I memorized whole chapters of You Can't Go Home Again and Look Homeward, Angel. Let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer. And let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. The customs are as formalized as an 18th century minuet, and a child at the race's knee learns the moves and twirls by osmosis and observation. While I know myself as a creation of God, I am also obligated to realize and remember that everyone else and everything else are also God's creation. Make every effort to change things you do not like. If you cannot make a change, change the way you have been thinking. You might find a new solution. To be left alone on the tightrope of youthful unknowing is to experience the excruciating beauty of full freedom and the threat of eternal indecision. First best is falling in love. Second best is being in love. Least best is falling out of love. But any of it is better than never having been in love. In the flush of love's light, we dare be brave. And suddenly we see that love costs all we are, and will ever be. Yet it is only love which sets us free. Since time is the one immaterial object which we cannot influence, neither speed up nor slow down, add to nor diminish, it is an imponderably valuable gift. The sadness of the women's movement is that they don't allow the necessity of love. See, I don't personally trust any revolution where love is not allowed. We allow our ignorance to prevail upon us and make us think we can survive alone, alone in patches, alone in groups, alone in races, even alone in genders. Won't it be wonderful when Black history and Native American history and Jewish history and all of U.S. history is taught from one book? Just U.S. history. Eating is so intimate. It's very sensual. When you invite someone to sit at your table and you want to cook for them, you're inviting a person into your life. Those of us who submitted or surrendered our ideas and dreams and identities to the leaders must take back our rights, our identities, our responsibilities. Human beings love poetry. They don't even know it sometimes. Whether they're the songs of Bono, or the songs of Justin Bieber, they're listening to poetry. Our stories come from our lives and from the playwright's pen, the mind of the actor, the roles we create, the artistry of life itself and the quest for peace. It may be enough, however, to have it said that we survive in exact relationship to the dedication of our poets, include preachers, musicians, and blues singers. I will look after you and I will look after anybody you say needs to be looked after, any way you say. I am here. I brought my whole self to you. I am your mother. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill, of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. You saw me bludgeoned by circumstance. Lost, injured, hurt by chance. I screamed to the heavens. Loudly screamed. Trying to change our nightmares into dreams. I don't trust people who don't love themselves and tell me, I love you. There is an African saying which is, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. She said, no, you learn that you have power and determination. I love you and I am proud of you. With those two things, you can go anywhere and everywhere. If you must look back, do so forgivingly. If you must look forward, do so prayerfully. However, the wisest thing you can do is be present in the present. Gratefully. The only thing is, people have to develop courage. It is most important of all the virtues. Because without courage, you can't practice any other virtues consistently. If you have only one smile in you, give it to the people you love. Don't be surly at home, then go out in the street and start grinning "good morning" at total strangers. Most people don't grow up. Most people age. They find parking spaces, honor their credit cards, get married, have children, and call that maturity. What that is aging. You can't forgive without loving. And I don't mean sentimentality. I don't mean mush. I mean having enough courage to stand up and say, I forgive. I'm finished with it. A woman in harmony with her spirit is like a river flowing. She goes where she will without pretense and arrives at her destination prepared to be herself and only herself. I dreamt we walked together along the shore. We made satisfying small talk and laughed. This morning I found sand in my shoe and a seashell in my pocket. Was I only dreaming? If it is true that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, isn't it also true a society is only as healthy as its sickest citizen and only as wealthy as its most deprived? My mother's gifts of courage to me were both large and small. The latter are woven so subtly into the fabric of my psyche that I can hardly distinguish where she stops and I begin. I know that when I pray, something wonderful happens. Not just to the person or persons for whom I'm praying, but also something wonderful happens to me. I'm grateful that I'm heard. Every person under the sound of my voice is a soldier. You are either fighting for your freedom or betraying the fight for freedom or enlisted in the army to deny somebody else freedom. I am never proud to participate in violence, yet I know that each of us must care enough for ourselves that we can be ready and able to come to our own defense when and wherever needed. That's what you want to do? Then nothing beats a trial but a failure. Give it everything you've got. I've told you many times, can't do is like don't care. Neither of them have a home. I'm happy to be a writer, of prose, poetry, every kind of writing. Every person in the world who isn't a recluse, hermit or mute uses words. I know of no other art form that we always use. I find relief from the questions only when I concede that I am not obliged to know everything. I remind myself it is sufficient to know what I know, and that what I know may not always be true. Once you appreciate one of your blessings, one of your senses, your sense of hearing, then you begin to respect the sense of seeing, touching, and tasting. You learn to respect all the senses. We are braver and wiser because they existed, those strong women and strong men. We are who we are because they were who they were. It's wise to know where you come from, who called your name. I don't believe an accident of birth makes people sisters or brothers. It makes them siblings, gives them mutuality of parentage. Sisterhood and brotherhood is a condition people have to work at. My mother said I must always be intolerant of ignorance but understanding of illiteracy. That some people, unable to go to school, were more intelligent and more educated than college professors. My mom was a terrible parent of young children. And thank God, I thank God every time I think of it, I was sent to my paternal grandmother. But my mother was a great parent of a young adult. One isn't necessarily born with courage, but one is born with potential. Without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue with consistency. We can't be kind, true, merciful, generous, or honest. We have to confront ourselves. Do we like what we see in the mirror? And, according to our light, according to our understanding, according to our courage, we will have to say yeah or nay, and rise. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats, so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it. Perhaps travel cannot prevent bigotry, but by demonstrating that all peoples cry, laugh, eat, worry, and die, it can introduce the idea that if we try and understand each other, we may even become friends. Courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You can practice any virtue erratically, but nothing consistently without courage. There have been people in my life who meant me well, taught me valuable lessons, and others who have meant me ill and have given me ample notification that my world is not meant to be all peaches and cream. I never expected anyone to take care of me, but in my wildest dreams and juvenile yearnings, I wanted the house with the picket fence from June Allison movies. I knew that was yearning like one yearns to fly. Living well is an art that can be developed, a love of life and ability to take great pleasure from small offerings and assurance that the world owes you nothing and that every gift is exactly that, a gift. It's good to remember that in crises, natural crises, human beings forget for a while their ignorances, their biases, their prejudices. For a little while, neighbors help neighbors and strangers help strangers. You are very kind and very intelligent, and those elements are not always found together. Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, and my mother, yes, you belong in that category. Here, give me a kiss. Ignorance is a terrible thing. It causes families to lose their center and causes people to lose their control. Ignorance knows no binds. Old people, young people, middle-aged, black, white, can all be ignorant. When I cook for my family on Christmas, I make feijoada, a South American dish of roasted and smoked meats like ham, pork, beef, lamb, and bacon, all served with black beans and rice. It's festive but different. You are the sum total of everything you've ever seen, heard, eaten, smelled, been told, forgot, it's all there. Everything influences each of us, and because of that I try to make sure that my experiences are positive. When younger writers and poets, musicians and painters are weakened by a stemming of funds, they come to me saddened, not as full of dreams and excitement and ideas. I am then weakened and diminished, and made less rich. You have to develop ways so that you can take up for yourself, and then you take up for someone else. And so sooner or later, you have enough courage to really stand up for the human race and say, I'm a representative. It is impossible to struggle for civil rights, equal rights for blacks, without including whites. Because equal rights, fair play, justice, are all like the air, we all have it, or none of us has it. That is the truth of it. I believe that one can never leave home. I believe that one carries the shadows, the dreams, the fears, and the dragons of home under one's skin, at the extreme corners of one's eyes and possibly in the gristle of the earlobe. When I look back, I am so impressed again with the life-giving power of literature. If I were a young person today, trying to gain a sense of myself in the world, I would do that again by reading, just as I did when I was young. I couldn't tell fact from fiction, or if the dream was true. My only sure prediction in this world was you. I'd touch your features inchly. Beard love and dared the cost, the scented spiel reeled me unreal and I found my senses lost. To be allowed, no, invited into the private lives of strangers, and to share their joys and fears, was a chance to exchange the southern bitter wormwood for a cup of mead with Beowulf or a hot cup of tea and milk with Oliver Twist. It's still scary every time I go back to the past. Each morning, my heart catches. When I get there, I remember how the light was, where the draft was coming from, what odors were in the air. When I write, I get all the weeping out. I love wisdom. And you can never be great at anything unless you love it. Not be in love with it, but love the thing, admire the thing. And it seems that if you love the thing, and you don't just want to possess it, it will find you. Whenever something went wrong when I was young, if I had a pimple or if my hair broke, my mom would say, "Sister mine, I'm going to make you some soup." And I really thought the soup would make my pimple go away or my hair stronger. Independence is a heady draft, and if you drink it in your youth, it can have the same effect on the brain as young wine does. It does not matter that its taste is not always appealing. It is addictive, and with each drink you want more. I'm convinced of this: good done anywhere is good done everywhere. For a change, start by speaking to people rather than walking by them like they're stones that don't matter. As long as you're breathing, it's never too late to do some good. If we accept being talked to any kind of a way, then we are telling ourselves we are not quite worth the best. And if we have the effrontery to talk to anybody with less than courtesy, we tell ourselves and the world we are not very intelligent. Most people don't grow up. It's too damn difficult. What happens is most people get older. That's the truth of it. They honor their credit cards, they find parking spaces, they marry, they have the nerve to have children, but they don't grow up. Politicians must set their aims for the high ground, and according to our various leanings, Democratic, Republican, Independent, we will follow. Politicians must be told if they continue to sink into the mud of obscenity, they will proceed alone. You don't want modesty, you want humility. Humility comes from inside out. It says someone was here before me and I'm here because I've been paid for. I have something to do and I will do that because I'm paying for someone else who has yet to come. The human heart is so delicate and sensitive that it always needs some tangible encouragement to prevent it from faltering in its labor. The human heart is so robust, so tough, that once encouraged it beats its rhythm with a loud, unswerving insistency. I'm working at trying to be a Christian, and that's serious business. It's like trying to be a good Jew, a good Muslim, a good Buddhist, a good Shintoist, a good Zoroastrian, a good friend, a good lover, a good mother, a good buddy. It's serious business. Hold those things that tell your history and protect them. During slavery, who was able to read or write or keep anything? The ability to have somebody to tell your story to is so important. It says, I was here. I may be sold tomorrow. But you know I was here. At one time, you could sit on the Rue de la Paix in Paris or at the Habma Theatre in Tel Aviv or in Medina and you could see a person come in, black, white, it didn't matter. You said, that's an American, because there's a readiness to smile and to talk to people. The fact that the adult American Negro female emerges a formidable character is often met with amazement, distaste, and even belligerence. It is seldom accepted as an inevitable outcome of the struggle won by survivors, and deserves respect if not enthusiastic acceptance. I'm grateful for being here, for being able to think, for being able to see, for being able to taste, for appreciating love, for knowing that it exists in a world so rife with vulgarity, with brutality and violence, and yet love exists. I'm grateful to know that it exists. I know some people might think it odd, unworthy even, for me to have written a cookbook, but I make no apologies. The U.S. Poet Laureate Billy Collins thought I had demeaned myself by writing poetry for Hallmark cards, but I am the people's poet, so I write for the people. I'm grateful to intelligent people. That doesn't mean educated. That doesn't mean intellectual. I mean really intelligent. What black old people used to call motherwit means intelligence that you had in your mother's womb. That's what you rely on. You know what's right to do. I have great respect for the past. If you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. I have respect for the past, but I'm a person of the moment. I'm here, and I do my best to be completely centered at the place I'm at, then I go forward to the next place. I've always written. There's a journal which I kept from about 9 years old. The man who gave it to me lived across the street from the store and kept it when my grandmother's papers were destroyed. I'd written some essays. I loved poetry, still do. But I really, really loved it then. That knowledge humbles me, melts my bones, closes my ears, and makes my teeth rock loosely in their gums. And it also liberates me. I am a big bird winging over high mountains, down into serene valleys. I am ripples of waves on silver seas. I'm a spring leaf trembling in anticipation. What I try to do is write. I may write for 2 weeks. The cat sat on the mat, that is that, not a rat. And it might be just the most boring and awful stuff. But I try. When I'm writing, I write. And then it's as if the muse is convinced that I'm serious and says, okay. Okay. I'll come. I find in my poetry and prose the rhythms and imagery of the best, I mean, when I'm at my best, of the good Southern black preachers. The lyricism of the spirituals and the directness of gospel songs and the mystery of blues are in my music or in my poetry and prose, or I missed everything. I am convinced that most people do not grow up. We marry and dare to have children and call that growing up. I think what we do is mostly grow old. We carry accumulation of years in our bodies, and on our faces, but generally our real selves, the children inside, are innocent and shy as magnolias. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It shades our cheeks and hides our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile with torn and bleeding hearts. We smile and mouth the myriad subtleties. Why should the world think otherwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We write for the same reason that we walk, talk, climb mountains or swim the oceans, because we can. We have some impulse within us that makes us want to explain ourselves to other human beings. That's why we paint, that's why we dare to love someone, because we have the impulse to explain who we are. Information helps you to see that you're not alone. That there's somebody in Mississippi and somebody in Tokyo who all have wept, who've all longed and lost, who've all been happy. So the library helps you to see, not only that you are not alone, but that you're not really any different from everyone else. I gave birth to one child, a son, but I have thousands of daughters. You are black and white, Jewish and Muslim, Asian, Spanish-speaking, Native Americans and Aleut. You are fat and thin and pretty and plain, gay and straight, educated and unlettered, and I am speaking to you all. Here is my offering to you. I like to write from the time I was about 12 or 13. I loved to read. And since I only spoke to my brother, I would write down my thoughts. And I think I wrote some of the worst poetry west of the Rockies. But by the time I was in my 20s, I found myself writing little essays and more poetry, writing at writing. The thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Somebody who may not look like you, may not call God the same name you call God, if they call God at all. I may not dance your dances or speak your language, but be a blessing to somebody. That's what I think. I keep a hotel room in my town, although I have a large house. And I go there at about 5:30 in the morning, and I start working. And I don't allow anybody to come in that room. I work on yellow pads and with ballpoint pens. I keep a Bible, a thesaurus, a dictionary, and a bottle of sherry. I stay there until midday. When rain comes finally, washing away a low sky of muddy ochre, we who could not control the phenomenon are pressed into relief. The near occult feeling, the face of being witness to the end of the world, gives way to tangible things. Even if the succeeding sensations are not common, they are at least not mysterious. What is a fear of living? It's being preeminently afraid of dying. It is not doing what you came here to do, out of timidity and spinelessness. The antidote is to take full responsibility for yourself, for the time you take up and the space you occupy. If you don't know what you're here to do, then just do some good. Frequently, I have been asked how I got to be this way. How did I, born black in a white country, poor in a society where wealth is adored and sought after at all costs, female in an environment where only large ships and some engines are described favorably by using the female pronoun, how did I get to be Maya Angelou? In all my work, in the movies I write, the lyrics, the poetry, the prose, the essays, I am saying that we may encounter many defeats. Maybe it's imperative that we encounter the defeats, but we are much stronger than we appear to be, and maybe much better than we allow ourselves to be. Human beings are more alike than unalike. Find a beautiful piece of art. If you fall in love with Van Gogh or Matisse or John Oliver Killens, or if you fall in love with the music of Coltrane, the music of Aretha Franklin, or the music of Chopin, find some beautiful art and admire it, and realize that that was created by human beings just like you, no more human, no less. This is the role of the mother. And in that visit I really saw clearly, for the first time, why a mother is really important. Not just because she feeds and also loves and also cuddles, but because in an interesting and maybe an eerie and otherworldly way, she stands in the gap. She stands between the unknown and the known. In order to be profoundly dishonest, a person must have one of two qualities: either he is unscrupulously ambitious, or he is unswervingly egocentric. He must believe his ends to be served all things and people can justifiably be shifted about, or that he is the center not only of his own world but of the worlds which others inhabit. Each one of us has lived through some devastation, some loneliness, some weather superstorm or spiritual superstorm. When we look at each other we must say, I understand. I understand how you feel because I have been there myself. We must support each other and empathize with each other because each of us is more alike than we are unalike. Fighting for one's freedom, struggling towards being free, is like struggling to be a poet or a good Christian or a good Jew or a good Muslim or good Zen Buddhist. You work all day long and achieve some kind of level of success by nightfall, go to sleep and wake up the next morning with the job still to be done. So you start all over again. Until recently, each generation found it more expedient to plead guilty to the charge of being young and ignorant, easier to take the punishment meted out by the older generation, which had itself confessed to the same crime short years before. The command to grow up at once was more bearable than the faceless horror of wavering purpose, which was youth. Remember this: when you cross my doorstep, you have already been raised with what you have learned. You know the difference between right and wrong. Do right. Don't anybody raise you from the way you have been raised. No, you will have to make adaptations, in love, in relationships, in friends, in society, in work, but don't let anybody change your mind. Out of the huts of history's shame I rise up from a past that's rooted in pain. I rise, I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clearly rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. We need the courage to create ourselves daily, to be bodacious enough to create ourselves daily, as Christians, as Jews, as Muslims, as thinking, caring, laughing, loving human beings. I think that the courage to confront evil and turn it by dint of will into something applicable to the development of our evolution, individually and collectively, is exciting, honorable. Many members of that early band of 20th century pilgrims must have yearned for the honesty of southern landscapes, where even if they were the targets of hate mongers who wanted them dead, they were at least credited with being alive. Northern whites, with their public smiles of liberal acceptance and their private behavior of utter rejection, wearied and angered the immigrants. If you're not angry, you're either a stone, or you're too sick to be angry. You should be angry. You must not be bitter. Bitterness is like cancer. It eats upon the host. It doesn't do anything to the object of its displeasure. So use that anger, yes. You write it. You paint it. You dance it. You march it. You vote it. You do everything about it. You talk it. Never stop talking it. Words are things. You must be careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that. Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. They get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, and your clothes, and finally into you. There were people who went to sleep last night, poor and rich and white and black, but they will never wake again. And those dead folks would give anything at all for just 5 minutes of this weather or 10 minutes of plowing. So you watch yourself about complaining. What you're supposed to do when you don't like a thing is change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. That day, I learned that I could be a giver by simply bringing a smile to another person. The ensuing years have taught me that a kind word, a vote of support, is a charitable gift. I can move over and make another place for someone. I can turn my music up if it pleases, or down if it is annoying. I may never be known as a philanthropist, but I certainly am a lover of mankind, and I will give freely of my resources. Love. And again, see, I don't mean, I think love is that condition in the human spirit so profound, that it allows us to forgive, and it may be the energy which keeps the stars in the firmament, I'm not sure. It may be the energy which keeps the blood running smoothly through our veins. I'm not sure, but it's something beyond the explanation. It can be used for anything you can explain. Any good thing you can explain. Let's tell the truth to people. When people ask, "How are you?" have the nerve sometimes to answer truthfully. You must know, however, that people will start avoiding you because they, too, have knees that pain them and heads that hurt, and they don't want to know about yours. But think of it this way: if people avoid you, you will have more time to meditate and do fine research on a cure for whatever truly afflicts you. A certain person wondered why a big strong girl like me wouldn't keep a job which paid a normal salary. I took my time to lead her and to read her every page. Even minimal people can't survive on minimal wage. A certain person wondered why I wait all week for you. I didn't have the words to describe just what you do. I said you had the motion of the ocean in your walk, and when you solve my riddles you don't even have to talk. Each of us has the right and the responsibility to assess the roads which lie ahead, and those over which we have traveled, and if the future road looms ominous or unpromising, and the roads back uninviting, then we need to gather our resolve and, carrying only the necessary baggage, step off that road into another direction. If the new choice is also unpalatable, without embarrassment, we must be ready to change that as well. People whose history and future were threatened each day by extinction considered that it was only by divine intervention that they were able to live at all. I find it interesting that the meanest life, the poorest existence, is attributed to God's will, but as human beings become more affluent, as their living standard and style begin to ascend the material scale, God descends the scale of responsibility at a commensurate speed. Because of the routines we follow, we often forget that life is an ongoing adventure. Life is pure adventure, and the sooner we realize that, the quicker we will be able to treat life as art, to bring all our energies to each encounter, to remain flexible enough to notice and admit when what we expected to happen did not happen. We need to remember that we are created creative and can invent new scenarios as frequently as they are needed. Every person needs to take one day away. A day in which one consciously separates the past from the future. Jobs, family, employers, and friends can exist one day without any one of us, and if our egos permit us to confess, they could exist eternally in our absence. Each person deserves a day away in which no problems are confronted, no solutions searched for. Each of us needs to withdraw from the cares which will not withdraw from us. We, the black people, the most displaced, the poorest, the most maligned and scourged, we had the glorious task of reclaiming the soul and saving the honor of the country. We, the most hated, must take hate into our hands and by the miracle of love, turn loathing into love. We, the most feared and apprehensive, must take fear and by love, change it into hope. We, who die daily in large and small ways, must take the demon death and turn it into life. Martin Luther King Jr. The black female is assaulted in her tender years by all those common forces of nature. At the same time she is caught in the tripartite crossfire of masculine prejudice, white illogical hate and black lack of power. The fact that the adult American Negro female emerges a formidable character is often met with amazement, distaste, and even belligerence. It is seldom accepted as an inevitable outcome of the struggle won by survivors and deserves respect if not enthusiastic admiration. The kindnesses. I never forget them. And so they keep one from becoming bitter. They encourage you to be as strong, as volatile as necessary to make a well world. Those people who gave me so much, and still give me so much, have a passion about them. And they encourage the passion in me. I'm very blessed that I have a healthy temper. I can become quite angry and burning in anger, but I have never been bitter. Bitterness is a corrosive, terrible acid. It just eats you and makes you sick. We, unaccustomed to courage, exiles from delight, live coiled in shells of loneliness until love leaves its high holy temple and comes into our sight to liberate us into life. Love arrives, sand in its train come ecstasies, old memories of pleasure, ancient histories of pain. Yet if we are bold, love strikes away the chains of fear from our souls. We are weaned from our timidity in the flush of love's light. We dare be brave, and suddenly we see that love costs all we are and will ever be. Yet it is only love which sets us free. When I am writing, I am trying to find out who I am, who we are, what we're capable of, how we feel, how we lose and stand up, and go on from darkness into darkness. I'm trying for that. But I'm also trying for the language. I'm trying to see how it can really sound. I really love language. I love it for what it does for us, how it allows us to explain the pain and the glory, the nuances and delicacies of our existence. And then it allows us to laugh, allows us to show wit. Real wit is shown in language. We need language. If you happen to be white in a white country, pretty according to the dictates of fashion, rich in a country where money is adored, it's almost impossible to grow up and to grow up honest inside. It is almost impossible. Most people don't grow up. Most people age. They find parking spaces, honor their credit cards, get married, have children, and call that maturity. What that is aging. But to grow up, to take responsibility for the time you take up, and the space you occupy, to honor every living person for his or her humanity, that is to grow up. The needs of a society determine its ethics, and in the black American ghettos the hero is that man who is offered only the crumbs from his country's table but by ingenuity and courage is able to take for himself a Lucullan feast. Hence the janitor who lives in one room but sports a robin's egg blue Cadillac is not laughed at but admired, and the domestic who buys $40 shoes is not criticized but is appreciated. We know that they have put to use their full mental and physical powers. Each single gain feeds into the gains of the body collective. I'll never know why it was important to him that the couple, he said it later that he'd never seen them before, would take a picture of the whole Mr. Johnson back to Little Rock. He must have been tired of being crippled, as prisoners tire of penitentiary bars and the guilty tire of blame. The high-topped shoes and the cane, his uncontrollable muscles and thick tongue, and the looks he suffered of either contempt or pity had simply worn him out, and for one afternoon, one part of an afternoon, he wanted no part of them. I understood and felt closer to him at that moment than ever before or since. We need to develop courage, and we need to develop it in small ways first. You develop a little courage, so that if you decide, I will not stay in rooms where women are belittled, I will not stay in company where races, no matter who they are belittled, I will not take it, I will not sit around and accept dehumanizing other human beings. If you decide to do that in small ways, and you continue to do it, finally you realize you've got so much courage. Imagine it, you've got so much courage that people want to be around you. They get a feeling that they will be protected in your company. Thomas Wolfe warned in the title of America's great novel that, "You can't go home again." I enjoyed the book, but I never agreed with the title. I believe that one can never leave home. I believe that one carries the shadows, the dreams, the fears and dragons of home under one's skin, at the extreme corners of one's eyes and possibly in the gristle of the earlobe. Home is that youthful region where a child is the only real living inhabitant. Parents, siblings, and neighbors are mysterious apparitions, who come, go, and do strange unfathomable things in and around the child, the region's only enfranchised citizen. We may act sophisticated and worldly, but I believe we feel safest when we go inside ourselves and find home, a place where we belong and maybe the only place we really do. It was awful to be Negro and have no control over my life. It was brutal to be young and already trained to sit quietly and listen to charges brought against my color with no chance of defense. We should all be dead. I thought I should like to see us all dead, one on top of the other. A pyramid of flesh with the white folks on the bottom, as the broad base, then the Indians with their silly tomahawks and teepees and wigwams and treaties, the Negroes with their mops and recipes and cotton sacks and spirituals sticking out of their mouths. The Dutch children should all stumble in their wooden shoes and break their necks. The French should choke to death on the Louisiana Purchase, 1803, while silkworms ate all the Chinese with their stupid pigtails. As a species, we were an abomination. All of us. Alone, lying, thinking last night how to find my soul a home where water is not thirsty and bread loaf is not stone. I came up with one thing and I don't believe I'm wrong, that nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, but nobody can make it out here alone. There are some millionaires with money, they can't use their wives run round like banshees, their children sing the blues, they've got expensive doctors to cure their hearts of stone. But nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, but nobody can make it out here alone. Now if you listen closely I'll tell you what I know. Storm clouds are gathering, the wind is gonna blow, the race of man is suffering and I can hear the moan, 'cause nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, but nobody can make it out here alone.